Welcome to the Check Swing Podcast. It is Tuesday night. It is 9 o'clock. And I'm going to tell you how I'm going to prove it to you how it's Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. I'm looking at the Phillies game, and they're up 4-0, top of the seventh inning, 2 outs.
Yeah.
So don't believe me, just watch. There you go. But welcome back. It's been a couple weeks since we talked to you. Last time we talked to you, it was I believe it was the finals of the World Baseball Classic was going on. We didn't get to discuss the final game much because it ended after we went off air. But I do want to get Miguel's opinion on that final at bat because I know you watched it. Amazing baseball right there. If you're a baseball fan, you had to enjoy that. But before I do all that, of course, I got to welcome in my man, Coach Santa, and ask him how he's been because that's how I start the show. So, Coach Santa,
Sir.
My man, how you been?
Doing well, sir. Doing well. Nice warm day today. It was a high of 78 up here. Not a cloud in the sky. Yesterday was actually pretty good too. So looks like spring is starting to spring.
Yeah, yesterday was decent compared to today. Compared to today. Yesterday was decent. Today was today was a great day, except for I was on the baseball field, and all the bugs are waking up now that it's warm, and all the gnats. I don't even know if they're gnats. You can call them flying ants. I don't know. They were about this big, and they ain't really bother you. But
I know when it comes to you and bugs, you tend to embellish the size.
I was the one that was okay because it was just those gnats or whatever they were. It wasn't
right.
It wasn't bees. It wasn't spiders.
And
bees and spiders. That's where I draw the line.
And is it me or is it? There's always a family of gnats on the first and third base coach's box. Is it just me? It always seems that way.
I kind of have a different experience. I haven't dealt with a lot of gnats down the third base line or in the coach's boxes, but I have dealt with gnats at second base a lot, in the outfield, of course, all the time.
Yeah.
And it just looks like a big old swarm. It just looks like a piece of the world just got dark in that area if you're far away from it. It's like a portal.
Yeah, and I think most of the fields are usually they drain towards the outfield anyway.
And that probably has a big piece of that. You're watching the Check Swing Podcast. We are coaches that talk baseball, coach baseball too. And, we discuss sports from a different perspective, especially the game of baseball. We see it from a different point of view from most. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Miguel, World Baseball Classic final, Japan versus the United States. And baseball has a way. Baseball has a way of giving you the moment that you want. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy. Like if you think about some of the things, and you can probably peel off a whole bunch more than I can, right? Because I'm going off the top of my head right now. But I'm thinking about Cal Ripken hitting a home run in his game where he broke the record. I'm thinking Derek Jeter's 3,000th hit being a home run. I'm thinking what are some of the other things that happened? Was it Don? Who was it? Kirk Gibson. Who hit the home run for the Dodgers in the playoffs on like one leg?
That was Kirk Gibson. It was the game one of the World Series against Dennis Eckersley, who did not blow a save, I believe, until that game.
Baseball has an amazing way of giving you the moments that you want, and this moment, to me, the final at bat in that game was so special. And I don't think the common fan could understand how special that moment was. It was intense. You had two guys that play for the same Major League Baseball team going up against each other, considered two of the best players in the game, if not the two best players in the game, going up against each other, representing their country in the final out of the game. And both of them are home run hitters. One of them is a pitcher as well, which is, amazing in its own right. But the drama for that situation, the story, like the buildup, you just could not get any better. And I don't know a situation that could have been better than that in the I was going to say Little League World Series, in the World Baseball Classic. Miguel, your thoughts on that?
It was simply awesome. I think every game it just had some value. Even the blowout games had its bit of entertainment or its bit of competitive fortitude, if you will. But of course, I'm rooting for my home country, which is Puerto Rico, and being able to overcome the battle between them and Dominican Republic, and you know, unfortunately falling short against Mexico,
Mexico.
which I did not see coming because I thought Dominican Republic would have been the absolute toughest team to go against, and they wound up not making it to the final. But even like one of the storylines was when Puerto Rico advanced, and Edwin Diaz, they crowd him up, and he tears his ACL celebrating. But even in the celebration, it was just something, you know, it was just a jump, and it just popped, or his Achilles popped, I should say. And of course, there's the ones there. There were the people that of course, Mets fans. Why play this? This doesn't mean anything. But even to hear the players on both sides say, could have happened anytime, anywhere. This is for our country. This is for pride. So even in spite of some of the injuries, and Altuve with the broken hand, and he's going to be out. I don't think there's any regrets overall, other than those two big injuries to those two big stars, and you know, hopefully they'll come back better than they were before. But other than those two instances, I mean, this was great for baseball, I think.
Absolutely great for baseball, and you got to excuse me. I'm over here trying to maybe I should put it over here. I'm over here trying to catch up. Or I could probably just it'd probably be easier if I just looked it up instead of trying to find it on the TV. Um, those moments, once in a lifetime moments. I mean, can you say once in a life? Like baseball gives us those moments. Like for instance, basketball in the NBA. And I want to remind me to go back to a point about playing for your country. But basketball, the NBA. Do you remember the LeBron and Kobe puppets that they had the commercials of?
Yeah,
And what you really wanted to see was a LeBron Kobe NBA final.
right.
But we never got it. Never got that. Never will. In football, you got to see you didn't get to see, excuse me, I'm blanking here, but you didn't get to see like the number one defense, like the Ravens, go against the number one offense. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
football, you don't get those moments that you really want. You don't get those moments. Like maybe this year was the year that you got that moment where you had the two top teams going against each other in the Super Bowl. Like maybe some moment for somebody, but baseball just has a way. Baseball is special in that way that it just gives you those moments where you know you'll be talking about them for years to come. People will be talking about that for a very long time. No, I'm sorry, I got distracted. People will be talking about that for a very long time. Wasn't that bad? Shohei Ohtani put on a pitching gem against one of the best hitters in baseball history, and you know what, Miguel? Like that was really the first time that I really watched Shohei Ohtani pitch. Like I've seen
yeah,
highlights,
yeah,
but that was the first time like I actually got to see him pitch, and I was impressed. Like I didn't know he was that good
yeah.
of a pitcher.
And it's hard because if you really want to see him, you got to be up West Coast time, 10:30. So it's not like it's a real
Right.
easy market to kind of see. So You know,
Exactly.
we're used to, Mets and Braves and, Yankees and Orioles and stuff like that. So that's what we get to see. But anything outside of like Chicago West, it's hard to see other than,
Absolutely.
the highlights. But yeah, he was, it was beautiful to see um that matchup, and it's like one of those dream matchups like you were referring to. I like what they did with our favorite game, the show, where they introduced storylines on the Negro leagues, and I believe the proceeds to from the game does go to like the Negro League Hall of Fame, which is great. So it kind of introduces a
I do want to make
generation.
a trip out there too.
Yeah, we gotta do a show out there. We gotta do a
Oh,
show out
absolutely.
there. But to be able to kind of reintroduce that history, just like with movies, reintroducing like you had Ray Charles, you had Elvis last year, so you're reintroducing like people from the past, and like, man, what if the what if start kind of coming up, and it brings back that interest.
Yeah. Yeah. Real quick, point I wanted to go back to. People talk about, you were talking about how there were some Mets fans that were saying, why even play in this, and it doesn't mean anything. I'm going to say this as an American.
Uh-oh.
Remember that I am an American. What we tend to care about in America, what we tend to put our efforts into in America, when it comes to sports, there are bigger things than what we think. There are bigger things than the sports in our country, right? Like playing for your country, to me, is bigger than playing in the major league. Playing in the major league is
Right.
a job that you get paid handsomely for. But playing in the Olympics, playing in the World Championship, competing, at that level to represent your country. Remember, they are playing a game.
Hmm.
So, they could have sent any baseball players there. They sent the best of the best. Czech Republic, I think it was, Miguel, correct me if I'm wrong. They don't have any major leaguers. Most of the
Yeah,
people they sent have other jobs.
yeah, it was like two or three. It was, I think, two or three teams that I think was Chinese Taipei. I think they were the other team that
Was it
didn't have.
Taipei or was it China itself?
No, it was It was the Taipei team.
Taipei.
I
Okay.
believe they didn't have. I think China may have had one or two, but I think Taipei was the other.
Let's put it this way to all my weekend warriors out there. If you were good enough, and this is not a shot at any of you, this is like the God's honest truth. If you were good enough, you could have played in that, because it's not a requirement that you have to be a professional player to play in this tournament or be on the team. You would have to be selected. If you were good enough to do that, you would be selected. That's what happened out in Czech Republic. I know people over here that I've worked with in baseball circles that played professional baseball in Italy. And they said playing professional baseball in Italy was like playing in a men's league here. But guess what? You could have some of those players in that professional organization that's like playing in a men's league, playing in the World Baseball Classic. So you want to send the best of the best. What you as a fan, you don't own the players that play in the team that you root for. You just don't. I know it's unfortunate to hear. I know it's disappointing, but you don't own the players that play for your organization that you favor. Okay, let those men and women have their fun, live their life, live out their dreams, because what you think as a Mets fan or as a Phillies fan or as a Yankees fan or whatever the case may be really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. These guys want to play and play at the highest level. If you had a job where you could be at the highest level and compete internationally, you would do it too. That's all I wanted to say about that. And I also want to say I'm glad Diaz is not a Philly because I would have been mad too.
So there was an argument about that, like why not just have it at the end of the season, and like in November, December, or whatever. And I think the counter to it was you may actually get less participation from the players because after playing a 162 game season, and God forbid you, like, think about the Phillies, like I don't know if Schwarber would have played
Right.
on the national team, because like you just had a grueling season, a grueling World Series, and then to be able to try to pick that up, it's easier, I think, to kind of take the break. Nobody's watching really spring training games anyway, so it's like, why not have it during the spring? But I think it's just the luck of, or the bad luck of, again, those injuries kind of talking. And I can't remember, there was a major injury, I want to say in the 2016 or the 2012 WBC, that happened to an American player. I believe like he either blew his arm out or tore his leg, and it was a fairly big name, and they were debating on whether to have amateurs play. But even the player that got injured, he's like, I was representing my country, so it's like it's worth it. Don't back down from it, because, but again, it's like what you said, like the American side of things is like, you know, what'd you say beforehand? Like, just do your eight and jet or whatever.
Do your eight
Uh,
and skate.
do your eight and skate. And I think that's kind of the mentality, just like what you said too about in America, we're arrogant in the fact that, oh, well, football's the greatest sport in the world. And, well, American football isn't even in the top like five in the world.
Right.
And I believe the stat, like the highest grossing video game on the planet is FIFA soccer.
Yes.
And I believe
And I
globally
too.
there's like one or two. They go back and forth between Australian rules football, rugby is really huge, and cricket.
Mm.
One of the semesters I had that we for one of our projects at Drexel, one semester we had to analyze a sport that we didn't like or that we didn't have knowledge of. So I chose cricket. And cricket changed this game because I think you and I had talked about how cricket you could actually play for several days.
Yes.
And but they
I have
modified
a
it.
book that talks about like one of the longest games of cricket.
Right, and I think what they did was they made a decision to actually stop a game at a certain point to allow the other side to get an opportunity. So they've kind of sped it up. So now a game can take like 4 or 5 hours versus 4 or 5 days. So,
Mm.
but again, it's like when you meet other cultures, like at the place that I work, we have a large African population. And
Mhm.
you hear a lot of talk about the soccer game, the football soccer game, or the cricket matches. And, you hear that conversation. You're like, as an American, you're like, what? But you realize, like, the size of the country of India, or the size of Africa, the size of Asia. It's arrogant for us to think like we're like a third of the size of Africa, but we think we have the greatest sports on the planet. And I
Right.
believe three out of the four major sports in the world, in the United States, aren't even in the top five in the world. So
Mm. Basketball got to be up in there in the top five though.
yeah,
Basketball is
well, but yeah, because especially over the last 20 years, because it's
mm,
been pretty big
since
with
the Dream Team.
right,
30 years. No, almost 30 years.
right, and a
Right?
nice subtle segue. We're actually going to have a Drexel alum on our show in 2 weeks. Who was an international. I believe he played for Barcelona and Argentina national team and won several championships, and he's getting inducted into the Drexel Hall of Fame. Robert Battle, former. We went to high school together. I graduated a year before he did, so he's the young
Okay.
he's the young bucket,
Okay. You didn't bully him, did you?
huh?
You didn't bully him, did you?
No, because I was
Actually,
I was this height, and he was 6'6" then.
you could have said, "I can see up your nose."
I could just tell you, well, he was a crappy football player. That's the only thing I got on him.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll talk to him about it in a couple of weeks. So make sure y'all tune in to the Check Swing podcast in a couple of
Couldn't
weeks.
couldn't catch.
Um, if you just tuned in, we were talking about the World Baseball Classic because we had been gone for a couple of weeks, and we never got to talk about the final at bat, which was amazing. Um, but now we're going to go into talking about the Phillies. The Phillies have started the season 4-0. Right now, currently though, I'm looking at the
What
game.
you
Huh?
said 4? You said 4-0.
Oh, excuse me, 0-4. Excuse me, 0-4. Let me tell you why. I'm looking at the game over here, and the game they're up 4-0,
Yeah.
and I just looked at that and said 4-0. The
Freudian slip.
Phillies have started the season 0-4. Your defending National League champions have started the season 4-0. What did I do in my notes here? Hold on.
0-4.
0-4. Excuse me. Jeez. Oh, and the ball gets by the center fielder, and he only
Oh,
gets a
so
double
I
out.
so I saw that 3 seconds ago, 5 seconds.
I watch it on. I'm not gonna put the company out there, but let's just say I'm watching on the internet.
Got you. I too am watching on the internet, but in the more legal realm.
Oh, mine is legal. I pay for it.
Oh, okay, gotcha,
It's a subscription service,
gotcha.
so we might be using the same service. Actually, I think we are. No, I don't know. It doesn't matter. We're not putting their name out there anyway. Um, but Miguel, you went through in these amazing notes, and I'll let you go through it because you put in the work on it. But you went through the 4-0 start. Excuse me, the 0-4 starts. I don't know why I keep saying that. You went through the 0-4 starts of the Phillies over time
Yeah.
and broke it down to they started 0-4 and this is how they finished. So I'm going to let you speak on that.
Well, for those that may be concerned about the 0-4 starts, since what is it? Phillies have been around for about 124 seasons, 124 years. They've had one, two, three, four, five, six. They've had 7 0-4 starts. The last time they were 0-4 was in 2016. The first time they started off 0-4 was I believe 1942, then in 46, then in 69, then in 77, 87, 2006, 2016. Now, I believe there was only
Can I pause? Can I pause for a second?
over
They must have sucked in the 40s.
and and most of the 50s except for one year in 1950 and most of the 60s and the larger half of the 70s.
Okay. And what
Um
year was the Whiz Kids? Was the Whiz
1950.
19? Okay, that was the one year they were good.
Right.
And
Well, they went to the World Series and they actually got swept by the Yankees.
mm-hmm.
They lost every single game by 1 run.
That
I think they lost
was
the
probably
first.
fun to watch if you were
Yeah,
lucky enough to see it.
I think the longest game was about an hour and 52 minutes,
I think they're trying to get baseball back to that.
which is good, you know.
Can be.
But
I was having a conversation about that today, but we can talk about that
yeah,
later.
yeah.
But
So out of all of those 0-4 starts, only one of those teams finished in last place. Two of those 0-4 beginnings ended in fourth place. One they finished in second place, which was in 2006. And in 1977, the Phillies, who at the time had the most wins in franchise history, went to the league championship series in 1977. So all is not lost because of the 0-4 start. If they go on for 0-5, then I believe it does get kind of worser, if you will. But
you are the second person today that I heard use the word worser.
I, I I
But I
only
want to say you might have been the only person that was joking when you said
what God, I always think of there was an argument. I was on the 124 bus coming home from work, and this guy was trying to talk to this girl. Um, and he was like, he was one of those loud and always wrong kind of guys, but was just trying to be, whatever, whatever. And we were getting off at the Wissahickon Transportation Center, and he said loud as hell on the bus. He said, "I want to get off at Wissahickon," and the bus driver literally said, "You need to get off my bus." He dropped him off at the. He's like, "You need to get like I've never heard English that bad in my life," and he was utterly embarrassed, and the girl didn't talk to him. So
Yo,
it was a bad day.
that's bad when the bus driver says you got to get off my bus. And
Yeah.
that's pretty bad when you because of your mispronunciation of a word. Not because you cuss them out, it's because the mispronunciation of a word. The bus drivers know you gotta get off my bus.
And you know how the buses call out the station, like the bus said the word for you.
It gives you the word, yeah.
Hello.
And there's no T in Wissahickon anywhere, because they have it, on the digital sign. But maybe you couldn't read.
Well, obviously,
I'm willing to give him that benefit of the doubt.
the girl was way out of his league anyway.
But they were both on the bus, so
yeah.
But some people take the bus because it's more convenient. Anyway, it don't matter.
So yeah, the 0-4 start is it's surprising. As bad as the Phillies have been in history, they've only had 7 0-4 starts in their history, which is
being that they're the worst, or they have the most losses. The most losses in all of sports. Yeah. Excuse me. Got something going on here. Seeing that they have the most losses in all of sports, they only going 0-4 7 times in their franchise history.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's probably status quo. Like, how many teams really go 0-4? I don't look it up. Don't worry about it. But how often do teams go 0-4? Like, the Phillies are the only team that are 0-4 right now. Am I correct?
I want to say yes. And hopefully they are about six outs away from being 1-4, getting their first win.
Yeah, they're almost there, but they should have won that first game, right?
Yeah, and the third game and the fourth game. I think the issue that the Phillies are having right now is, and they were talking about it at the pregame show, how a lot of walks, having that big inning, just like with the season opener. I think we were at 5-0, and then Aaron Nola left a couple of.
I'm sorry, I'm Phillies only team without a win thus far in the entire major league.
They are the only one. Gotcha. Yeah, but again, we still have high hopes. My concern too is like, Suarez is down with an arm injury, and then the best pitcher in the minor leagues, Andrew Painter, has been shut down. And it's that UCL, that same, the muscle that usually gets removed from Tommy John. And they try to, I think Sir Anthony took the year off, and still wound up having to get the Tommy John surgery anyway after getting shut down. So, but he seemed, last year he had a pretty good season, but that's kind of concerning to me.
Yeah, I want to ask you. I forgot the Phillies signed Stram.
Right.
Would you not have him higher in your rotation?
I would.
Hey, why is it the 5th game of the season that he's just seeing the mound?
Well, because when you signed him as a innings eater, he's a bridge pitcher, so he's supposed to get you from like the 5th to like the 7th and get you to the setup guys. That's what he was for Boston. So I think they just it's kind of like one of those games where you have like, all right, our pitching staff is kind of overworked, so you're going to have a bullpen day. But I think he just did a lot better than they anticipated today. So I think it's kind of luck of the draw. And who's to say that he won't start? It
How do you spell his last name?
Stram. I think it's Stram. Straham. Straham.
Um, oh, who the hell did I just look up? I looked up Hank Stram. It's Matt Stram, right?
Matt Stram, yeah.
Go. I'm sorry. Finish your thought. I'm just
No,
looking
I
at his.
think it reminded me of you remember the 1993 season? And they picked up a guy named David West. He was a
Yes,
big
I
burly
remember
pitcher.
that.
Started
Mhm.
out as a he actually started out as a starter. I think he was the number 5 starter. They were battling between him and Ben Rivera. And then I think he actually had an arm injury. And then they're like, all right, well, you'll be the innings eater guy. And he wound up doing so good in relief that he wound up being the left-handed setup for the Phillies that season, along with Larry Anderson. Or I'm sorry, they were the 7th and 8th inning guys, Larry
So,
Anderson and David West.
so he was not signed to be a starter. He's not a starter. I thought he
Met,
was a starter.
no. He was supposed to be a pseudo setup guy, but really a guy that can eat up innings.
Okay, gotcha. I don't know why I thought he was a starter. I'm looking at this is not his tonight was not his first time seeing the mound. He saw the mound against Texas. Pitched one inning, got one strikeout against them.
Yeah, I think they were just trying to make it a bullpen game today until they could figure out, all the pitching woes. But I mean, tonight I think the between the starter and the bullpen, I think only 2 hits have been given up.
When did this whole bullpen game thing become a thing?
I think it started with what's his name from Tampa Bay, Madden. I think he started that. So
Yeah,
he
sound like
so
some people started.
what some managers will do in the beginning of the seasons, at least they'll actually either go with a full 5-man rotation or do like a spot starter slash six starter,
Mhm.
just to give their starters some rest in the beginning of the season, and then they won't go to like the 5 starter rotation until like mid season, and when they start kind of seeing where their team is at, and then that'll kind of set them up for the postseason. It was like what there was a situation tonight where the starter for the Yankees, even though he gave up 2 runs, it was only on like 3 hits. He had like 8 Ks and he only had 75 pitches. And then they took him out. So, and I think that goes back to like our argument of when they took Snell out in the World Series
Mhm.
because, they didn't want him to face the lineup a third time.
Right.
And I think I can understand that during the regular season, but when it's the World Series, I think
You got to force them to beat you.
you got to force them to beat you at some point, and I just think that's the reason why they lost that World Series. But I think it was John Kruk on the broadcast. He's like, "Well, that's the game today, and they're preparing for later on down the line." I think at the beginning of last year, remember Clayton Kershaw had a no hitter
And they took
going,
him out.
and they took him out.
Yeah.
I think he had a no hitter going into the ninth inning. He was supposed to come out in the ninth, and they took him out, and everybody was okay
They
with
took
it.
a
And
couple people early in the season last year.
yeah,
There's a couple. I think wasn't there a Philly that had a no hitter going?
I believe
And
so.
and not Thompson. Who Girardi took him out.
Yeah,
I believe.
yeah. I think because you know what that's from. That's from when remember Lincecum when he pitched his no hitter. I think he threw like 160 pitches, and he never pitched the same again. I think right
Yeah,
when it,
I often wonder like what happened to Tim Lincecum. Like he was like great and then just fell off the face of the earth.
he pitched the no hitter. I think him. Who was the guy for the Mets? The lefty, Johan Santana. That's who it was. He
Mhm.
pitched a no hitter. And they both blew out their arms. And I think the fear was that wow, we don't care that much about history as much as we do about like the game, but it you know then you look at stories about like like Nolan Ryan, and I know he's like a freak of nature, but there was one story of him throwing a 212 pitch. complete game in August, and he lost 1-0, and then came back and threw a no hitter with 185 pitches 4 days later.
Jeez.
Unreal, unheard of. And it's like he had one season in his 25-year career where he had arm trouble. One.
Was it his final season?
No.
Okay.
Although there's a documentary, I can't remember if it's on Netflix, about Nolan Ryan. He threw his last pitch and blew out his ulnar thing and threw one more pitch after that. And he said I'm done. Like his arm literally the muscle here literally tore off the bone. His
Mm,
last pitch in the major leagues was 98 miles an hour.
damn. After he tore the
After he tore, because he felt the twinge,
right.
kind of shook it, threw the next pitch, and it popped. No, no, no. He felt the twinge, then the pop, then he threw another pitch, and it was at 98 miles an hour.
Good lord. Good lord.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, he threw out the first pitch like 10 years ago, and he was clocked at 82, so he still got it at like 60.
Man, that's amazing stuff right there. Um, I want to get back to because we kind of went off on the time. I want to get back to the 0-4 starts. You say is it time to panic? And I want you to answer that because I'm gonna give you a conversation or kind of give you a conversation I had last week on opening day. But is it time for Phillies fans to panic?
Not yet. No, because it's like baseball is such an ebb and flow sport. I think the Phillies last year lost like 5 and 6 in a row at a couple of times during the season. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
0-4 in baseball is different than 0-4, excuse me, in any other sport.
Mm-hmm.
Because all it takes is 2 or 3 weeks of going on a hot streak, and like 1977, they started off 0-4 and wound up with 101 wins. So it's like I think it's just glorified because it's right at the start of the season. But with baseball, I mean, you could literally not watch baseball for 1 month and you may not miss much.
Very true. That's probably why people don't watch baseball because they're not going to miss a whole bunch. I agree. It's not time to panic, and it's. I thought it was funny that you put that on the notes because opening day, and I'm sure for the people that don't know, the Phillies had like a 5-0 lead on opening day and ended up losing the game. There's a guy at my job that I mean, he was mad about the Phillies losing and how they lost and all like that. And he was like, the Phillies suck and this, that, and third. And people were like, what is wrong with all you Philadelphia fans? As soon as you get a loss, it's basically they were like the sky is falling and all like that. And I had to laugh because we are like that. We are very much like that. But it's funny. It was funny to hear that that day because on the radio last year after I think the Phillies started the season by sweeping the Braves. I think that's how it happened. People were calling the radio station talking about, yeah, we're going to win the World Series.
Well, we almost did.
And that's the crazy part about it that, they end up going to the World Series. They didn't win. They ended up going to the World Series, but it was like there was so much in between where you, my dad, a lot of people at one point, I'm sure me, did not think the Phillies were even going to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
you said it on the show. My dad and I were talking conversation. I know I probably said it at some point that they were not going to. I think when we started saying it on the show, I was like, they'll make the playoffs. I think I was just trying to do positive affirmations, but I don't think I believed it. To be honest with you.
But you know what that comes from? Because I hear that too here in Baltimore. Like, man, you guys, you fans are, you're rough. And I have to give everybody like kind of a history lesson because Philadelphia is the town where we don't just lose, but we lose like catastrophically.
Like
If
the
you
Super
look,
Bowl, we were up by 11 and ended up losing.
right, you can go to the Sixers. You have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in 1980 is injured in the finals. And then what's his name? Magic Johnson takes over at center, does a hook shot like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and then beats the Sixers in Philadelphia. Then you have
Mhm.
like we
And if correct me if I'm wrong, Magic was a rookie.
Magic was a rookie. You had Black Friday in Philadelphia for the Phillies when the Phillies were so in 1977 or no 77, Phillies were up 2 games to 1 on the Dodgers. Um, they were one strike away from either. I think they were either one strike away. No, they were one strike away from having a 2 games to 1 lead because back then you only needed to win three to win the NLCS.
Pennant. Right.
They were one strike away from winning 4-1. A bunt single, a thrown ball to a thrown pickoff throw, a fly ball drop by Greg Luzinski in left field, throwing the ball to second, bouncing off the right leg of the second baseman, going into the right field area. 5 run score, and it's the darkest day in Phillies history. And remember, at that time they hadn't won a World Series yet, so
Right.
that was absolutely the most. And then the Flyers, countless Flyers have had deaths with Pele Lindbergh, and they had the goalie of the future, and he died with a blood alcohol level of like 12 Angry Men. Crashing into a elementary school, and then you've seen the Eagles lose, in embarrassing fashion on many of occasions. So it's not the fact that there's a reason why we have like this pessimism about us is because our teams have had great expectations and they let us down catastrophically.
It's very true. It's very true.
So we're
Um,
burnt by that.
Real quick, I want to move on because I show the time is moving. I think somebody fast forwarded time or something. Um, you put in the notes that the MLB owners unanimously ratified the CBA with minor league players. The big takeaway is that players now will be played. Well, the big takeaway is now how the money scale is has gotten higher.
Mhm.
Um, and before I get into those numbers, I do want to say I'm going to read some of this. Players now will be paid nearly year round because that's not how they were only being paid during the season before.
Right.
Will be paid year round, receiving $625 a week during spring training and at least $250 a week for most of the off season, of which are part of the annual salary figure. So this is not extra money that they're getting. This is their salary that they're receiving spread out over the 12 months. New housing and transportation policies and all like that. But this was so very interesting to me, that the pay scale. Before this, a professional baseball player playing in the minor leagues was not even making $20,000. Was not making $19,000 or $18,000. They were making $17,500. I mean, I knew they were not getting a lot of money, but I didn't know it was that low. Like, that's amazing to me. Like, who you really got to be going after your dream to be playing for 17,500. You know what I mean? A year. But that's going up to $35,800, which, for a professional athlete doesn't sound like much, but it's better than 17,500. Double A has the scale 13,800 to 30,000 and some change. High A ball is $11,000 a year to 27,300. Single A is 11,000 to 26,200. And rookie ball is 4,800 to 19,008. That's a huge jump right there. That's a huge jump. 4,800 to 19,800. That's a huge jump. Now, let me put in there that minor league baseball players also receive housing and stuff like that. So they actually live with a host family, which has got to, like, I guess in some situations it's good, but it's like you're a grown man and now you have to live with this family that you don't know. that the team has set up for you. You know what I mean? That's because you're chasing this dream. Is this something here that you want me to put up on the screen, Miguel?
Well, it's just a repeat of it. Just kind of lays out what we were talking about. So you have just to, you know,
Okay.
kind of bring it all together. Yeah.
So just think about that. You're playing a professional sport, but you have to live with someone else.
Well, that too, and then also there's no guarantee you can actually get from that host family to the stadium. So that's a lot of Uber and Lyft rides that are out of pocket. But now that's going to be guaranteed. So
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. Like I knew minor league players were not getting their just due, but I didn't know it was that low. I thought they were making at least $30,000 a year.
yeah, I thought so too. But I remember I can't. It was like maybe 12 years ago. There was a kid that was at a AT&T store because we were getting our phones at the time, and we were talking. Basically, he's like, "Yeah, I play for I signed a minor league deal with oh my goodness, what was it? It was a minor league team in oh with Trenton Thunder."
Okay.
And he was like, "I'm like, so what are you doing here?" And he's like, "Well, I need it because they don't pay me in the off season, so I have to figure out how
Oh,
I'm
he
gonna."
was there working.
He was there working, yeah.
Okay.
And he helped us get our phone and got us a discount and stuff like that. But yeah,
He
he said
probably made more money working there than he did with the baseball team.
well, he said if he would have stayed on full time for a whole year, he would have made about 5,000 more. But he said, yeah, I have to figure out how to make a living outside of the season. And this actually was the previous model of major leaguers back in the day when before free agency, where they had like perpetual 1 year contracts. You only
Uh-huh.
made money from the first day of spring training until the last day of the season. After that, you were on your own, and almost everybody on the team made the same amount of money.
Yeah. Which probably gave team camaraderie. I probably bet you that helped team camaraderie because y'all all making the same money, y'all all in the same boat. There's no jealousy, there's no envy, there's no well, I shouldn't say there's none of that, but it's none of that about the money that you're making, whether you feel like it's deserved or not. Um,
Yeah.
Real quick, I want to jump touch these topics that you put in there about the Eagles. Jalen Hurts has not signed an extension. Hasn't signed an extension yet. Still on his rookie deal. Um, I think Carson Wentz has a lot to do with that. Honestly, I just do. Um, you're looking at me like what? Let me tell you why.
Carson Wentz, though.
Carson Wentz had an MVP season. After that season, they signed him to that big contract. Comes back the next year, he's never been the same.
Yeah, I think he's different though. I mean, because he's
I
injured.
I I do as well. I do as well. I just feel like I just to me like that. What else is holding you back? You want to see what money you're going to have to spend? Like what is really holding you back? I'm sure there's plenty of things. I'm not in that room,
Right.
but you got to lock this guy up. You got to lock him up. Do you think the season was a fluke? Because I don't.
No,
For one, I was one of the people that was excited when they drafted Jalen Hurts as a backup to Carson Wentz because I felt like if Carson Wentz goes down, we're set, we're good.
right. And
I didn't think he was going to be the starter. I was like, okay, but we'll probably get a nice trade value for him in a couple years.
right.
So I was of that elk. Not a lot of people were excited about it. I was of that. I was excited about it. Um, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, for me, I had to see what he would do. There were too many technical flaws I saw in his game his first season. Because I think the way he threw his deep ball, he kind of underthrew it a lot, and he just wasn't as accurate as I would have liked. So it's like I wanted to see what he would do and how he would progress his second season. You know what I mean? And he blew the doors off of it, as you can say. I think Lamar Jackson may have something, to kind of do with that as he's pursuing his trade, with the franchise tag, still placed on him. And I think it could be a simultaneous Jackson's looking to see what Hurts gets. You know what I mean? Because usually these things kind of work out where once the one player signs, then it kind of sets the market for the rest of the season,
Right.
for the off season.
And it's like they don't want to use Deshaun Watson as the scale.
But
Like the contract he got was like they people feel like the Browns overpaid, overvalued, and all like that. But when you come to negotiations, you can come and say, "I've done more than him. I should get paid more than him."
and I think that's what the argument Lamar Jackson is making, which is kind of a valid argument. He's been an MVP caliber player with no receivers. You know what I mean? And now all of a sudden, I read a story today that the Ravens are looking for receivers. But the team, like the Ravens, they've always been a defensive minded
Always.
organization. So they'll pay over the top for a great linebacker or a great cornerback. Because, I mean, look at the two Super Bowls they won. They won with, what's the Delaware guy?
Flacco,
They won with Flacco, and then they won with the other bum,
Dilfer.
Dilfer. And when you hear the names Dilfer and Flacco, that doesn't kind of exude. Like, you would never pick them in Madden. You know what I mean? So it's like, but if you can win with those guys, then why do you need to pay all out for a quarterback? You know what I mean? So I think that's what the mindset, and that's what the
And
negotiation.
that makes I get that, but then I come back with, well, your defense is not Ray Lewis,
Right.
Ed Reed, Suggs, um, what's my man's name, Saragusa, Haloti Nada. Like, these guys are not coming through that door. They're not on your defense now. You have to figure something out. Like, there comes a time when, all right, you kind of got to change your value up. It's almost like, when it's like when the Eagles had Randall Cunningham and they had that great defense, but they didn't give him like the weapons that somebody like him should have.
And what happened when he did get the weapons in Minnesota? He went off. He went off.
Went off, should have went to the Super Bowl, probably should have went undefeated.
But and that's why I have so much belief in the Eagles, because they're willing to admit. I mean, they'll never publicly say that they're wrong about something, but they'll make the correction.
Yeah,
Because for the longest time under Andy Reid, what was it? All you need is the quarterback, offensive line. You can use anybody in wide receiver. But that changed when Andy Reid left, and now you had your AJ Browns, you had your Jeffries. You know what I mean? Like,
mm-hmm.
they went out and got like the pieces that were undervalued. Even under the last defensive coordinator, they went out and got linebackers. I'm like, wait a minute, we have linebackers now. Like, what I thought we don't care about linebackers. We just want D backs. But you know, it kind of shows growth of the organization, and you're willing to change based on the phase of the game.
Absolutely. One more note. I don't know. Let me see what the game might be looking like. Hold on, give me one. Really, iPad? You want to tell me that I got storage issues now?
What's the name? Just hit a home run for the Yankees. It's two
Oh,
outs, and the Phillies are at 4-1, and the tying run is on at the plate. Your boy Craig Kimbrell is in the
that's it.
pitch.
And Josh Donaldson is up. I see that. Um, we're going to touch on the Sixers real quick, and then we're going to see if Miguel is going to stump me today. And the Sixers right now in the fourth quarter are tied with the Celtics 81-81. And it's looking like the Sixers are going to have the third seed locked up. Even if they were to win tonight, they're 3 games behind the Celtics, which I guess after tonight would end up being 2 games behind the Celtics. And then there will be 3 games to play. So, you can almost kind of bank on them being the number 3 seed, just because of that situation. People are texting me. I'm sorry. Okay. And I think you put your hand up because the Phillies won. That's what I'm guessing, because
That would be correct.
Phillies finally got their first win. They are now 1-4 on the season. Um, So Sixers playing the Celtics tonight. Miguel, I know you're not the biggest NBA fan, but you are a fan of strategy.
Yes.
In this situation, if things play out the way if things play out the way they are right now, the Sixers could end up playing the Celtics in round 2 of the playoffs if they both get through the first round. This being your last meeting with the Celtics, are you going all out? And you haven't beaten the Celtics at all this year. Are you going all out and trying to win this game? Or are you holding back because of a possible playoff matchup that you don't want to show your hand?
Yeah, I'd probably play it to an extent, but at this point, let's lick our wounds. Let's really try to strategize and figure out how to beat these guys when it matters most, which is the playoffs. And I mean, even the players themselves, when it comes to the NBA, they've admitted, maybe not all publicly, but the regular season is just kind of like it's kind of a farce.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of a placement of where we're going to play in the playoffs, and then kind of go from there. So if you're only going to be if the difference is only between a second and a third seed, whether you have home field court advantage and whatnot, I don't know if that is worthy of the extra effort, to so to speak. Um,
Yeah.
and how many times have we seen where teams didn't do well against one team, and then they wind up sweeping them in the playoffs. I think the one year the Eagles beat the Giants in the playoffs, I think the Giants they beat them both times, if I'm not mistaken,
In that season.
in that season.
Was that
If I
was that the Jason Sehorn years? Was that when the Eagles finally like overcame the Giants back in
No,
the
no, no, no.
Donovan
It was
days?
it was that one. I think it was the year that we went to the NFC Championship in Arizona. It was that
Oh,
season.
okay. Okay.
Yeah, it was Donovan McNabb lost the NFC Championship game.
Gotcha. Well, the Sixers are down 86 to 81 now, and there's a timeout about a little more than 6 minutes left in the game. So do what you want with that. It's time for Miguel to stump me again. Actually, you know what, Miguel? Because I'm going to give you a question today too, just
Fantastic.
so you are aware. I just got to pull it up. Excuse me. Here we go. All right, here we go. Cy Young. So it was a pitcher, 5-time All Star, 5-time World Series champion. Okay, two of those are the Mets. At least two of those are the Mets.
Three of them are the Mets.
Okay, three of them are the Mets. Okay, that other shade of blue looked like it might have been a little dark. I didn't want to jump out there. Three of them are the Mets. One is the Yankees.
Two of them are the. Oh no, I'm sorry. You're right. You're right. One is the Yankees.
Three Mets, one Yankee, three Dodgers.
Three Royals.
And I usually say Royals too. All right, three Royals and a Tampa Bay.
Blue Jay.
Three Royals and a Blue Jay.
And a Boston.
Is this somebody? Is this person's career more recent?
No, but he's actually in the booth. Not for any of our teams, but
So Royals, Boston, Mets, Yankees, Brett Saberhagen.
good guess, but incorrect. However,
Damn, he never played for the Mets, did he?
yeah.
He did. Brett Saberhagen played for the Mets.
Oh, yeah, he did.
He did. Okay. Uh,
He played for the Mets and the Royals.
5-time World Series. All right. Did he win these World Series with? Which teams did he win the World Series with?
The Blue Jays and the Yankees.
There was David Cone. David Cone, baby. Wow. How did I remember that guy? That guy's name didn't come up anytime recently. How did I remember that?
Yeah.
How did I remember that?
He pitched a perfect game on the day that Don Larson, who's the only person to ever pitch a perfect game in a World Series, was honored.
Wow.
So yeah,
David Cone. How about
David
that?
David Cohn.
I forgot he played for Kansas City though.
I never knew he played for the Red Sox, even though it was like the last team he played for. I didn't know. I knew about
Very
all the other teams.
forgettable.
Never knew about the Red Sox. I think he only played like half a season, then he called it a career.
I don't remember him playing. I don't really remember him with the Mets.
Well, he played one season with the Royals, and then he was traded to the Mets. I remember the Mets because he used to kill the Phillies, and yeah, he played like 6 seasons with the Mets before going to Toronto.
Wow. Why don't I really remember him with the Mets? I don't know. I got one for you, and I think you'll get this one because you're just like a baseball historian in a sense,
Mhm.
and I'm giving you this one because of the vicinity of where you live now. What Baltimore Orioles manager was ejected from a record 91 games?
Earl Weaver.
Earl Weaver is correct. Did you hear the ding, ding, ding?
No, I didn't. I didn't
Oh,
hear
I
the.
didn't have to think about it right. Oh, man. Were supposed to be able to hear that. Okay. Earl Weaver is correct. Earl Weaver, who managed the Orioles for 17 years, was ejected from Major League record 91 games. In fact, he was once ejected from both games of a doubleheader.
The
Oh,
I gotta show you the video once we go off the air. He got ejected in the first inning of a game, and it was caught all on video.
oh wow. Yeah, let's check that out. Um, Anything before we get out of here, Miguel? I had a thought to say at the end, but I should have wrote it down.
Um,
Oh, I remember now. Go ahead, or I can go first
you can go
because it
first.
actually starts with a question.
Go ahead.
You recently celebrated an anniversary.
Yes, me and my wife celebrated our 19th wedding anniversary on Sunday.
So my final thought is happy anniversary to you and the wife, and many, many more to come. I wanted to make sure it was a wedding anniversary because when I saw the post, it didn't necessarily say like your. I don't remember what it said, but I was like, is it their wedding anniversary or is it like they've met they've known each like
That's
I
a good
wasn't sure.
question. No, that's good.
I wasn't
So
sure.
yeah, we've been together since 2001, and then we got married in 2004.
There you go. Love is beautiful.
Yeah,
Love is beautiful. And
she said,
speaking about love being beautiful, make sure you check out the 10/7 show every Sunday here on New Twist Radio. Go to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/New Twist Radio, and check out the live tab where you will find all of the shows that are here on New Twist Radio. And on Sunday nights, you have the 10/7 show. Straight relationship talk, no chaser. All right. And with that being said, we're going to get up out of here. We appreciate y'all hanging with us on the Check Swing podcast, wherever you may be checking us out from. If you're on Twitch right now, shout out to you, man. Just next time, give us a host on Twitch, and and we can rock out. I'm not going to finish the rest of that statement. We can rock out. All right, talk to y'all next time. We won't be around next week on the Check Swing podcast, but we will be around the following week with who, Miguel?
Hall of Famer Robert Battle.
Robert Battle, Drexel Hall of Famer, professional basketball player. Make sure you check us out. We're out of here, y'all. We appreciate y'all hanging with us. We'll check y'all next time here on the Check Swing podcast. Peace.